We also have to report the property tax report card, schedule of reserve funds. These are the funds that the district maintains as reserves, also known as savings account, but they are designated for certain areas. That's what we use as part of our appropriations from the previous slides. Again, in the books and in the presentations, you see on the left-hand side the reserve type, the name of the reserve for the district, the description, the balances, what the estimated ending balance is for the 22 school year, and what we anticipate usage for next year. So one of the key components of the budget process and also the annual meeting is the famous question, what happens if the budget goes down? And the district has to abide by certain elements of the law. They will vote on the proposed budget. Residents vote on the proposed budget on May 17th in person or by absentee ballot. Should the budget fail, the board has the option of putting up the same exact budget or a revised budget for a revote by June 21st, 2022, or immediately adopt what's known as a contingent budget. If the budget fails twice, the district must adopt a contingent budget, which, simply explained, comes with a 0% increase on the tax levy. So what is a contingent budget? A contingent budget will only contain legal expenditures authorized by statute and expenditures that maintain educational programs, preserve property, and maintain the health and safety of students and staff. It will include reductions in staffing, programs, capital items, non-contingent items such as student supplies, certain equipment that do not deal with health and safety, and community use of buildings and grounds. Total spending limit, as mentioned, if it fails twice, it must adopt a budget with a 0% increase on the tax levy. And it also comes with an administrative cap, which is the ratio between the administrative and program budget components. And it must be the lesser of the calculated admin cap for 21-22 or the defeated 22-23 school year. So for Sayville, actually our administrative expenses, administrative cap number is lower than last year's. So it would automatically be lower than what was budgeted for 21-22, should that be the case. In summary, what would be reduced under a contingent budget on the screen? It would, the administrative side would be reduced by $35,418. The program budget would be reduced by $265,161, and the capital budget would be reduced by $1,111,525. Now, I just want to mention the reason that that capital number is so high is because, as mentioned, in a contingent budget, certain capital expenses must go, and as I mentioned earlier, there is a $1 million capital transfer to capital line for the Lincoln bathrooms, so that would be removed from the budget. And just to kind of go over the revenue side, as I mentioned, it comes with a 0% increase, which means that the tax levy from the proposed would be reduced by $1,046,000, but the district would also go a little bit further and reduce some of the appropriated fund balance that we would appropriate towards the budget, because that would go to support some of the programs that would have to be legally removed from the budget. So the overall increase would be $1,412,104, and you see on the bottom here the two numbers, the comparison of the two. The appropriated fund balance. Okay, so what's next? The upcoming dates. So today is May 10th. May 12th, which is Thursday, is the last day to register to vote at 3 p.m. at the administration building. May 16th, which is a week from yesterday, next Monday that is, by 4 p.m. is the last day to request an absentee ballot in person. May 17th is the annual budget vote and election, which will be held again at the old junior high school between the hours of 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. I know that it is on the agenda, but I can also go that the Sayville Historical Society, the 21-22 budget, that actually should read 22-23, it's actually unchanged from year to year, is $86,300. The society's funds are $32,300 that would go toward, and raised by the tax levy would be $54,000. That represents a 0 increase year to year. As you see, the estimated homestead tax per 100 of assessed value. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Do you want to say if you want the bond?
Bond?
Yeah.
So again,
Do you want to say if you want the bond issue?
Yes. So on the ballot is a proposition for $15 million to reskin several of the roofs through several of the district buildings. Many of them have come to the end of their useful life. By that I also mean that their warranties are at or approaching expiration. The replacement value, the full replacement value of a roof, unfortunately right now is astronomical. There is a method by reskinning the roof which not only provides the protection that each building would need, but it also comes with that full 25-year warranty with each roof. Not just the skinning, but the entire structure. If funds allow, there's also a project that was sent to SED with the last bond to install an HVAC system at the high school auditorium, and if funds allow past that, we would look to also do some work with HVAC in the cafeteria at the high school. That is also one of the proposals, and there was a separate bond referendum mailer that went out with the budget brochure.
Question, I do have a question more to state. I'm sorry, but the textbook line, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's a hard-covered textbook, it also covers.
Correct.
And I think there's always been some confusion about what that line does cover. Can you just give
Sure.
a general?
Sure. There are hardcover textbooks that need to be ordered and would be ordered even as replacement, but several years ago, let's say 8, 9 years ago, the state changed its guidance to also include Chromebooks and electronic textbooks as well that can be drawn from that line. That's also an aidable line that we do receive state aid from annually as well.
And the busing contract, I think is probably very important, especially this time, right now, with the cost of diesel and as well as gasoline going tremendously. It was 3.1%.
3.3.
3.3, regardless of the cost of, so that's pretty good.
Yes. I'm sure our vendor loves us for that right now.
I drove by, I saw with diesel at the gas station, and I grabbed my chest. Thank God I don't drive a diesel car, but I didn't keep my house door.
Well, you briefly mentioned to us at the budget workshops, with the bond, because our debt service is dropping off, the reason we're doing the bond now is because this way the impact will be zero basically on the budget. Because we already have debt service, but that's dropping off.
Yes. And
it'll be replaced with the new bonds for the roof.
By the time that, if approved, that the debt service would kick in 23, 24, 24, 25, we would have just about comparable debt service falling off, so that it would maintain the current level of debt service, but more important, the amount of state aid that we do receive in what's known as building aid, so that we don't see a drop off in that as well.
Because we get 68 cents.
68 cents on the dollar, yeah.
Good job, Sam.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from the community specifically to the budget, please? Yes, can you please stand up and come to the, so I can.
Hi. I was just looking at the line budget in the flyer, and I noticed that it says handicap pupils K-12 is down close to 300,000. So I was just wondering if that has to do with instruction and what's being cut out of that budget.
It's actually not. That's staffing, but not staffing reductions. Those are retirements, and then replaced with the same amount of staff members, but they would be starting at a lower salary as well.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you.
Any other questions concerning the budget?
I have one. Right?
Yes.
So I received the state-required form today. We know it's on this, right?
16 hours,
Okay. I would just, a quick question, the per house, per home is not on here because it's not required by the state, is that correct? The
It's
assess-
not, no. It's not.
Okay. So the tidings that you sent out still says 135 per house?
138 or 1150 per month, yes.
Even though at the back in March meeting, I had mentioned it's over 400,
Well,
actually.
so,
It's an average, isn't it?
yeah, so the average assessment of 40,000 would come with that number. If there is a larger number associated with that, we would recommend you contact the assessor for whatever reason, but going through what has been sent to us from the town of Islip and going through the numbers, and I know that that number has remained consistent over the years with tax rates that have been in and around this number,
Okay.
it should be addressed with them as well.
All right, can I is there any way I can get what the town sent to you without going through the
Yes,
foil and
exactly.
waiting for a month? Could you send that to me
Yes,
so I can?
it's actually in the budget book. And after the meeting, I could show you where it is.
Okay. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Any other questions on the budget?
So just before we move on from the budget, and thank you, Dr. Gurgis, as Dr. Gurgis mentioned, a week from today, May 17th, beginning at 7 o'clock a.m. and closing at 9 o'clock p.m., the polls will be open for our community to vote on the budget. In addition to the budget vote, there are also 3 seats for the Board of Education. And I'd like to read the names of those candidates. Mrs. Sack is running unopposed, so that's 1 seat. The seat currently held by Mrs. Dolan. Mrs. Dolan is running again, and Mrs. Richards is also running for that seat. And then for the seat that is vacated by our outgoing board trustee, Mr. Norman Devenow, we have Desmond Megna, Mark Ruff, and Christine Sarni. So those are the community's candidates for the Board of Education seats.
Not the library.
Well, the library's here, so maybe after we, finish this, Jen, if you want to, address the community.
Sure.
So that concludes the school budgets workshop for this evening. Is there anyone from the Historical Society? Okay, great. So Jen, if you don't mind going first, and for the library, and then we'll hear from the Historical Society.
Good evening, I'm Jen Fowler, the director of the Sayville Library. Right across the parking lot, if you're not sure where we are. I'm just going to do a very short presentation. You are all welcome to come visit me at the library. We love to have visitors, as many as we could possibly fit in the building. And I'm going to talk about our budget for the coming fiscal year. So before I start, I just wanted to say, I don't want to bombard you with numbers, but I'm really happy about these particular numbers. I'm just going to mention them real fast. So in this fiscal year, which is not officially ended yet, we have, through the Sayville Library, we've downloaded, you the community, over 45,000 books. You visited our website 234,000 times, and 44,000 Wi-Fi sessions, and 1,400 online tutoring sessions. So those are great numbers, and I just want to thank you for utilizing the library and being such a strong supporter for us. I'm just going to talk a little bit about some of the things that are going on at the library and some things that we're going to be doing in the coming year. So community outreach is a really important part of our mission. We are working with, we have a wonderful librarian, Jonathan Pryor. If you don't know him, please come meet him because he's amazing. We are always present at all our community events so that people can learn about the library and meet our staff. We've had, in the middle picture you see the big van, we've had mobile mammogram vans, we've had blood drives, we've even had a mobile shower bus for people that who are homeless who might need a shower. So we've also opened up a little free pantry, partnering with some young ladies from Sayville High School. And we just recently opened up a little free pet pantry for pet food for some people that have to choose between feeding themselves and their pet. We want to support them. We also have homebound delivery, which if somebody is homebound and not able to get out of their house, we're able to deliver materials free of charge and get them back to the library free of charge as well. We also work collaboratively in our community with the soup kitchen and the pantry, the food pantry. Just talking about food insecurity is a big part of our new mission in the new normal of the world. So we do some really great family programming. We do an annual family scarecrow workshop. We had FanFest, first one in November, which was our version of Comic-Con. We had 1,800 people show up. not including the stormtroopers that are there. It was amazing. We'll be doing that again this November, and I hope you can make it. We also started a courtyard concert series because, you know, this year was all about bringing people back together in safe ways and just getting back into the routine, because we all fell out of our routine, so we're just trying to get the library to be part of your normal, hopefully daily, but at least maybe weekly routine. And just to mention online learning, because we're here in the school, we do a lot of digital resources that support the Sayville School District. We have Ancestry and Heritage for genealogy. We added 2 new resources. BrainFuse is the company that does it, but JobNow and VetNow. VetNow is specifically for veterans who need assistance with just navigating veterans affairs, connecting to new jobs, or just any sort of mental health. We can help them with that. JobNow is also about helping people connect to jobs. HelpNow is we've had this for years, but I keep talking about it every chance I get. We have online tutors through the library, but it's online for grades K through 12. Every subject, pretty much every language. So if you haven't utilized that with your students, please, and you want to know more about it, please just reach out and I'd be happy to talk to you about that. Grant Station is one of our new databases, so for nonprofits that are looking for grants to support and help them, especially with COVID, we need money, all the nonprofits. So this is a service now that the library offers. You can come in and use the Grant Station. Excuse me. And then just one more thing in digital, I just wanted to mention, we added on our website, we recently digitized the Suffolk County News. We have from 2008 to 2019, and we have over 1,000 slides from the John A. Conklin Image Collection, which is pretty awesome. Sustainability has become a mission of the library. We are now part of the Sustainable Library Initiative, and as part of that, we're just trying to make mindful decisions on how the library can be more sustainable in all ways. And we just completed our LED project where we replaced lighting of over 900 fixtures, making us being able to reduce costs for future energy costs. We had some damage to our solar panels in a bad storm. So we repaired all of the solar panels, and we also adjusted them so that they get more, tilted them up. So to use the technical term, we tilted them up a little bit. So we get more energy for the library. We also have a seed library, which sounds kind of adorable, but it is actually really heavily used, and people come in, they bring their seeds, they take their seeds. So if you're a gardener, please come and check about that out. So we're kind of doing a sustainable audit of the library, and that's a financial audit and a building audit, and just things that we can all do to be better, in better shape for sustainability. So some of the things we're doing in the coming years, we've extended our community garden. We're going to be creating recycling stations, and also for battery and cell phone. Almost there. Okay, so library services. So instead of just going on, because I could talk about these for like 4 hours. So I just wanted to show you, it's kind of impressive. These are all things that you can do at your library or that you can receive at your library. So I'm sure not everybody knows that we were handing out COVID-19 kits. We just ordered more from the county, so if you need a test kit, you can get that at the library. We don't have any today, but we should have more within the coming weeks. We do a program for 1,000 books before kindergarten for little kids. We work a lot with veterans, we do school supply drive, we do Medicare counseling, with 3D printing, notary service for free. We are now lending out blood pressure kits, so if you want to do that, you can check that out for a month. So that's that. And as far as our budget, here are our priorities for the coming year. Of course, to keep the tax increase below the tax cap. We want to maintain our operating hours, expand our online resources and downloadable media, continue offering in-person, grab-and-go, and virtual library programming, maintain the public and staff computers and computer systems, maintain library building, infrastructure and grounds, and maintain an increase of the staffing of the library. So we are asking for a 2% increase, and this is We are, you can see in the top there, it's broken down between the taxes and our debt services, which is the bond from when the building was new. I think we have about 6 more years left on that. And then in addition, you could see other revenues that we traditionally bring in, including pilot payments. Expenditures, where was that for spending? Okay, so we're able to bring down the cost of library operations and building operations, and to be straight up honest, our largest investment is in the staff, because that is truly our most important resource. And we're adding a maker space into the top level of the library. Our teen department has just exploded with activity, so we need more staffing in teens as well. So we are underneath the tax cap, just at zero for tax cap, and this will amount in an estimated $11.71 annually for the library increase, as in the house assessed at $40,000. And I just wanted to end with this slide because it's amazing. So we partnered with the Chamber and with Assemblyman Gandolfo. The library collected over 1,800 items to send to Ukraine, send to Poland for the Ukrainian refugees. So thank you. This is your community at work, and that's it for me. Unless anybody has any questions.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Thank you for the presentation, by the way. I noticed there was 150 increase in salaries. I was just curious how many employees that was. Is that for the teen center?
Yeah, so there's 2 full-time employees, and then also, the health insurance part of it, which we have night shift as well.
So that's included in the
Yeah,
bench? Okay.
that's included in that. Did you have a question?
I have a question. For an $18 million library that we got, which is
Yes.
beautiful, how come we can't use the back door?
Yeah, I'm going to be straight up honest with
And
you
we
too.
gotta park
I
in the
started
back
here
of the
4
line.
years ago. I started here 4 years ago, and it was my first question, like, why can't you live in the back door? So I have a little Post-it on my bulletin board in my office, like, what does it say?
Stop the crazy.
Stop the craziness and open the back door. It was a suggestion in the suggestion box. It is one of our priorities. It will take some construction, because right now if we just open the doors, it's all staff area back there, so it will take a reconfiguring of that bottom level. Because when you walk in the back door, you walk straight into staff, and there's a long hallway.
Why
So-
didn't they do it the right way to begin with?
Well, I wasn't here when the building was built, so if I had been, I would have been an advocate for it too. I would have been an advocate for it too, because I know that it's a problem, and it's probably I'm going to say it's the only complaint that we ever get, but it is a big issue. And we do talk about it. Most likely when our bond is paid off, we'll have a little bit more cash flow to make that adjustment in the next few years. But
Can I suggest something else? Some lighting in the back? This whole lot. I know we paid
yeah,
for
we
lighting
don't-
for something recently.
That's the school. Well,
I don't know whose property this is. It's very dark, but then if
Yeah,
they're going to
we-
walk in and out that back door.
Yeah, we like the light, but we're not in charge of the parking lot.
So it's you guys.
We're talking about the exits and everything.
Yeah.
Every time I'm returning my kids' books, I get stuck by the minibuses going to the school there.
The BOCE Center.
And the security guards make us stop and wait and be late to work when we're just trying to return our library books.
Yeah.
So maybe in the back, if you're doing something back there, could the drop back there also be drive-through?
I hope so.
Just keep it
I'm
in
all
mind
about
if
the
you're doing
drive-through, so
construction
if we could,
anyway,
like,
because I think you have to get out of the car.
I will do anything I can to make it as convenient. That's why we put
Yeah.
up the curbside pickup and everything, yeah. So we'll definitely take your thing. Makes sense?
Thank you very much.
Anything
Thank
like
you,
that.
guys.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say.
Oh, the trustee, yes.
No, just before you introduce the trustee, we want to say something.
We have kindergarten screening this
Yes.
week, and then we have UPK screening next week, so I just wanted to thank the library, because you're always very gracious hosts whenever we come over, and we had a nice 2 days, and we look forward to
Thank
the
you.
rest of the week welcoming our class of 2035. So
Yeah,
thank
it's
you.
one of our staff's favorite day of the year because they get to meet all the new littles, and it's exciting to have the kids back in the building, because we did have a year there where we weren't able
Yeah.
to host it, so we'll always be hosting that. As long as you'll have us, we'll be
Thank you.
happy to. And I just wanted to mention that we do have one trustee running for office again, 5-year term, Joseph Lochran, running unopposed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now I'd like to invite the Historical Society. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. My name is Roy Fedelum. I'm president of the Sayville Historical Society, mostly because nobody else wants to be. From what you can see on the presentation, our budget remains the same as last year. Because of COVID, we lost revenue by not having the annual holiday house tour, but we offset that by not having Farm Day. This year, we're going to have Farm Day. That will be June 5th for the first time in 3 years. We're shut down for part of 2020 because of regulations. We are now open and pretty much on an on-request basis. If you call the office, we'll try to get somebody down there whenever it's convenient to open up the museum and the Edwards Homestead. We're also open in November for the holiday open house. And with the help of the Sayville Civic and 3 students, we emptied the upstairs in the annex. We cleaned everything. There was stuff in there that hadn't been touched for 100 years. And we insulated the 2nd floor. We also were quite busy during the pandemic. We redid the floor in the exhibit building, and now we have a new exhibit on old toys and old games. And there's a large dollhouse that you can see there. We have a new caretaker. We had to repaint the caretaker's house and do some minor improvements. Our caretaker is a custodian for the schools, not this school district, but another school district. So our buildings have never been cleaner. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
No? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Roy.
So I know it's been said, but just to reiterate future actions, final voter registration day is May 12th, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., and that is here in the district office. Individuals must see Mrs. Vaccaro, our district clerk, for voter registration. She helped a number of individuals this evening, and she will be available through the 12th. The budget vote and election, just to repeat, at the old junior high school, May 17th, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. The annual district meeting, which is the Board of Education meeting that follows the conclusion of the budget vote and the board election vote, that will take place at approximately 9:15 p.m. At the old junior high school auditorium. So the vote will be in the old junior high school gymnasium. The district meeting will be held at the close of the vote at approximately 9:15 p.m. At the old junior high school auditorium. So, and that is, of course, open to the public. And that concludes our budget hearing for this evening.
Thank you. We have to move on to our regular workshop meeting, so we need a motion to adjourn this meeting. Discussion? All those in favor? We're adjourned. I need a motion to open our workshop meeting. Second? Second. Discussion? All those in favor? We are open our workshop meeting. The first item on the agenda this evening is we have some correspondence. We received a correspondence from a community member regarding the election. I'm going to pass it left. Next item on our agenda is Board of Ed discussion. There's a couple of items that are there now. One is the art show. I don't know, anybody have a chance to go to the art show? Absolutely fantastic, amazing talent, unbelievable. It's just a different variation of anything from printed matter to photography to ceramics to, I think I got a T-shirt from somebody.
Did you?
Although it probably was from somebody that probably fit my godson, my grandson right now, but it's so small, but it's a great T-shirt. And it's fantastic, and I'm so glad to see. That place was wall-to-wall people. Unbelievable artwork, unbelievable talent of our students.
The sketches were impressive, and I have to say this. Carl, your daughter, I could not get over her sketch. It was incredible. it looked professional, it really, a very good
Well,
job.
it's a testament to the art department, the time they put in, how dedicated they are.
Very beautiful.
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do a thing, but they're great things. I'll pass on the comment.
Yeah, really,
Fantastic,
really good.
even if it was pouring out, I was just like, it's pouring out, there's so many people that said it was great, absolutely great, so it's.
A friend of mine that a graduate was, he said, do you remember doing this? I said, "No, we didn't do anything like this." It was kind of like a reflection of how far the district has come.
It's amazing, actually, yes. And I think some of the artwork is outside, right outside here right now, too, so.
Beautiful.
Is the town good for you?
No, not at all. That's there.
Oh, you had to see it, yeah.
Struggle with.
It was awesome.
It looked
And
professional.
I gotta say, my daughter won an underclass photography picture. She stood in the wave and took a picture.
But that was, would someone shake up something?
I can't.
I can't draw it.
I can never.
Yeah.
I can't draw it.
Sorry, can some of you speak up so the people in the back can hear?
I'll try.
You're usually good, but it's this view. Thank you.
Next item, well, there's another item, claims order report, I think we went through that already, right? If I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, there's no issues on
No
that.
issues. Okay, and a couple of added items, one of them was brought up earlier by the lady in the front, it's about miking the board. I actually have a hard time hearing from back there, as you can imagine sometimes how hard. I would like to see if we could possibly get a mic centered on some of these tables so the community can hear a little bit better. I see we have a couple of speakers back there, it's,
Well, I think, well, we should probably get a proposal since we are videotaping, maybe on a comprehensive system.
Mr. Seuss has been looking into.
Yeah, because otherwise, if you just get ordinary mics, then we get feedback. and
Yeah, it's something that's.
well, yeah, well, that's whole part of the whole thing of miking, I think.
I'll follow up tomorrow.
I also had the chance to attend a school funding symposium by Western Suffolk BOCES, which is hosted by National Suffolk School Boards Association and REFIT, which is members of both of those, as well as Dr. Stimmer was there and Dr. Gurgis was there. And it's pretty interesting where the whole discussion for school funding is going. Instead of being a tax-based funding stream to possibly changing it so it's becoming such a burden on taxpayers year after year after year. So it was a great discussion. We've learned a lot of things. Shelley Mayer, who's the chair of education, certainly shared her honest opinion with us about where she thinks it's going, but it's certainly, I think it's a step in the right positive direction to have to look at another revenue stream besides taxes.
What kind of revenue stream?
Income tax. Income tax based on income, which
I mean, the reality is if you make it income-based, the burden goes with the income that you make. So if you retire, and your income comes down, you have forced to sell your home.
being that I'm retired now, so okay, that's,
But you know, John, other states do it by property base. They look at your whole property and they say, well, look, you might live in a 4-bedroom house, but you do ride with, I'm not a car person, a Lexus or one of those cars. So it's based even though you had that car. So that's what other states do. Very interesting.
I certainly think it's a good discussion to have.
Did they speak to like the wealth effect? I mean, again, on the higher income levels, like did they talk about any data as far as a disincentive because of a desire to send children to private school or to elite schools versus, you know what I mean? Like if the burden's gonna fall on.
Not, a little bit there, a little bit here, a little bit there, but it's amazing some of the statistics that were presented to us about combined wealth ratios. Sayville's combined wealth ratio, if I'm not mistaken, Dr. Gurgis, is 1.06. And you look at some of the wealthy areas like in Amagansett, where it's the combined wealth ratio is 25. Their state funding is not going to be as much as someone who's at the 1.06. A high tax low wealth district.
So one of the key components that we spoke about, which has, I don't want to say been beaten, to death, but it's a real issue, which is what's known as the regional cost index. This is a measure of how much it costs to live in certain areas of the state of New York. The regional cost index in the formula has not been updated since 2006. The free and reduced price numbers in the formula have not been updated since the 2000 census. There's data in this formula that is over 20 years old. And there is recognition of that. And that's part of the conversation, because the cost of living on those two, levels that I just mentioned, 2 recessions have passed.
And it's also based on free and reduced lunch. Statistics are based on free and reduced lunch. And you can see where the whole Suffolk County, Nassau County is really shifting to. I mean, you think that some of the really wealthy districts, I mean, their free and reduced lunch is also increasing as well. So and those figures are so outdated.
There are also properties, nursing homes or whatever, they're newly built, they do get a tax exemption for 10 years, it's gradual.
For the pilot payment,
Yeah.
For the pilot.
And when is our pilot payment for the Bristol on its course?
I think it's 13 years.
And they can renew it again, right?
They can renew at any time. Midway through the agreement, they can also renew or extend it.
Even though we were getting, it doesn't matter, previously we were getting taxes for that.
It certainly was an interesting, dialogue with, and Shelley Mayer, she did a really good job of presenting. Any other items for board discussion? Okay, I'm going to open up the public session. Can we move the podium, please, to the central location? We have a podium? Did we sell the podium? Do we have a podium in the budget now? No? All right, Board of Education Administrator, listen carefully to what our members of the community have to say. We follow regulations specified by law and policy as we encourage our community members to offer public comment at Board of Education meetings. The Board of Education requests that anyone who participates in public session demonstrate civility and they address the board and the community. Board of Education meeting held in public view, giving the public opportunity to watch, listen to proceedings and the board. In these meetings, the district staff updates the board on matters pertaining to school district. The board may require to take action on matters related to board operations. Board Policy 1230 provides the opportunity for a period of public comment during this meeting. With that in mind, we offer a brief word of parameters of our public comment period. 30 minutes will be set aside for comments and questions by the public before the board agenda is moved. The board reserves the right to limit public participation in any case or to the extent maximum comment period if it deems necessary. Questions and comments by the public are limited to 3 minutes per person. Speakers are asked to identify themselves or the group they represent. Speakers should conduct themselves in a civil manner and direct their comments to the board. The board will not permit discussion involving individual district personnel, students, or community members. The floor is open. Can you, I guess you can stand and
It's a
speak.
really quick question. In the beginning, I couldn't hear you, Tom. Did the audit committee meeting that was scheduled at 7 and then moved to 7:30, did it get adjourned to June 9th? Is that what you said?
The topic that was going to be discussed wasn't available, the representative, so we postponed that to the next one.
So that didn't occur tonight at all?
No.
I got you. That's it.
Okay.
That's,
Anybody else?
yes, I guess if no one else is, I was going to wait for last. So I just have a couple of questions. Thank you for the budget presentation, by the way. So I just want to confirm that your board policy, which I pretty much know well over all these years, probably look at it weekly for different sections of it. Is it a requirement that a board member and anyone who fills out a petition to run for school board has the ability to read? Does, you know if that's in your policy?
I'm going to ask that you ask all the questions first.
Okay.
And respond.
I am aware it's in your policy. I believe it's, I don't know, 2120 or 2120.1 or something like that. It is in there. I didn't print it out, but that's a qualification. You must be able to read and write. I also had picked up some packets to run for school board. The front sheet of that packet has the instructions, very clearly written on the instructions on the first page. It says, the petition, and I will tell you when it's underlined because these are underlined for emphasis, right in your instructions. The petition must contain the names underlined, signatures underlined, and addresses underlined of at least 25 qualified voters of the district. Now that's clear to me. That means of the voters of the district, not by someone else's hand. okay? The line continues. It is suggested that each candidate obtain more than 25 signatures. Now, that is there because someone checks, or is supposed to check, these petitions upon receipt and remove disqualified voters, which would be people who are not registered to vote, or anything that looks suspicious and perhaps,
I don't believe you have to be registered.
Can the person?
oh, I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure you need to be a registered voter in the district, but whatever the case, they need to confirm they're a resident, at least in the district, okay? And then they're supposed to, if they see something that looks suspicious, perhaps bring it to someone's attention. I foiled all the petitions because I wasn't sure who I was going to vote for, and I thought to myself, let me see who signs petitions, maybe it's a connection to somebody I know, whatever, that's why I foiled them. When I got to a sheet, I could not believe the signatures were all the same. You guys did an investigation. The attorneys advised you to vote to remove a person from the ballot because they did not, once forged signatures were removed, have enough candidates. Some of you voted to keep that person on the ballot. That would have been Maureen Dolan, Norm, and Carl. Now, some of you have done some great things over the years, and I am sorry, but with that one decision, this is plain English. There were people who signed that petition that weren't aware their signatures were going to be signed. This should not have happened. This is election integrity, and it starts here. This is our community that I love, and it has gotten me to the point where I don't even want to come here because my skin is crawling. This is horrible. Okay.
Ask that you finish up.
Can she take my time? Because I'm very concerned about this too,
You
John.
can speak about it in your 3 minutes.
It's like,
There was
yes.
also a letter, I don't know if someone's going to read it, from Patricia Carroll in that packet that you guys didn't read. She's an attorney in the district. She's currently out of town. And she asked, and I can't read it because my 3 minutes are up, but that you did. She asked if you would please read it during the correspondence part and it would become record of the meeting. Now, this letter, like I said, I have a copy from Patricia
Again,
Carroll.
I'm going to ask that you finish.
Could you please read some of those emails instead of just pass them around to each other? There is a correspondence section of the
I really
meeting.
don't want to be rude.
Okay.
You know
So-
what, I want to give you 3 minutes.
But John,
You got my 3
why can't
minutes, but
she
this is,
take
you
my
guys
3
aren't
minutes?
following, what I'm trying to
why
say, you
can't
guys
you
aren't
take my
following
3
the
minutes?
rules,
I'm
why should
concerned
we?
about the same thing.
Why should we? If you're not following the rules, if those petitions were not checked when they came in, why should we? That's a poor example to set for our students and our community, John. I'm sorry.
I understand.
I know you understand,
I
okay?
understand, but you know what, we have to. we went
You
for
have to
3
follow
minutes.
your procedure, which actually you have no procedure to follow,
Friggin' joke.
okay? You have none. So it was made up on the fly. And it's a shame.
It wasn't
Because,
on the fly. I announced early in the meeting that you got 3 minutes. I mean.
no, not that procedure.
Well,
I
that's
mean,
what I'm
in the
talking about.
investigation, there's no procedure to contest petitions in your policy, which you need,
I
okay?
don't want to get into a back and forth debate.
I'm just saying, your rules were made on the fly. And it's disregarded. It's simple language, okay? So to say to us, we need 3 minutes, it's kind of like laughable. That's what I'm saying. If you're not following your own rules, as a board, this is the entity, not you, John. I'm saying as an entity, it sets a poor example.
I understand your point, but you know what? I understand your point.
Okay.
You were given the 3 minutes, and I appreciate you taking the time.
And I think I made the point clear enough. Thank you. Because I used to take up too much time.
So they allowed someone to run that wasn't legally put on the ballot.
Can we please direct the questions to you? Any other community comments? Yes.
Are we going to read the letter?
No, I just have a quick question. My name is James, a question to the board. I know I was a little shocked about what I heard happen too. I'm trying to figure out what actually happened. And it's a little difficult. And I pulled up your minutes from the last meeting. Just one question was, in the minutes it says that the district found sufficient cause to declare invalid petitions. Now, when you're saying the district, who particularly is that the attorneys or is it the board?
The resolution basically outlines what the findings were. The board voted on the resolution. There was 3 people in favor of it.
I understand.
Yes, I want to try to answer.
I think
I-
you're misunderstanding the question.
Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I just want to know who they're referring to when they see the district found the petition to be invalid.
The district,
Who's the district?
the district clerk.
But,
At our direction, at our direction.
At our direction, yes, I'm sorry.
oh, so the clerk found it to be invalid and the clerk did the investigation.
Yes.
Thank you.
Do you want me to respond to that?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
So Doug Spence's our attorney.
Hi, good evening.
I'm sorry, who are you?
I'm sorry?
Doug Spence's
I'm
our
the
attorney.
district's general counsel.
Oh.
So the board received the challenge. The challenge was investigated by the district clerk. That the sum and substance of that investigation was forwarded to the board. The board had a formal hearing, which it's required to do to provide minimal due process to the candidate. The board thereafter rendered a decision, voted on a resolution regarding the outcome of that proceeding that they had with the prospective candidate. That vote rendered a 3-3 tie with one abstention, which is the equivalent of a no vote. So therefore, the candidates remains on the ballot for the upcoming meeting. So that's the sum and substance of what occurred.
Let me get this straight.
You can't.
Guys, listen, we're trying to address this.
sorry.
No, I'm
We're
not.
trying to address this, and I want
All
to
right,
give
John.
everybody 3 minutes.
Let me get this straight. Somebody running for a seat comes up with 5, 6, 7 signatures that are not that person that fraudulently put on the ballot, and yet you're keeping him on the ballot?
I think it was 8.
8 signatures that are not those people, and yet you're keeping him on the ballot, Tom? Come on.
John.
Come on, seriously?
The
What are we
board was
looking
present-
like here?
The board was presented.
We were presented with information.
Excuse me, Tom. The board was presented with the information. The board had a resolution to decide upon. The board deliberated, and there was 3 people who were in favor of it. There was 3 people who were opposed to it, and
So-
1 abstention. So
I
because
get
of that,
that.
excuse me, because of that, as our attorney has answered, it remains on, he remains.
So I'm looking at a petition with signatures that are not those people,
Mhm.
and yet you agree with that candidate being on the ballot, knowing that those signatures are not those people. I don't get that. But that wasn't my concern.
And
Sam, I wanted to ask you a
No,
question.
this is what they do. The attorney made a
Excuse me.
decision, that's how they
Excuse
put a
me, please.
resolution on.
Go ahead, sir.
I'm sorry. See, I wanted to talk about the roof issue.
Yes.
Now, I know the last time you spoke, it was 12 million, now it's 15 million.
No, the bond referendum was total 15. Total estimated cost right now of the roof is approximately 12.
I thought it was-
Which I mentioned last time.
Right, it was 12 million on the
Yes.
roof.
Yeah, but
Okay.
the entire.
Now, is that a done deal?
No.
We're still waiting on the bond?
There's,
Can I just stop for 1 second? Can you stop the clock, please? Can we, I would like you to have your, please ask your question, and this way Sammy could finish your question, this way Dr. Gertz can respond. Because if we go back and forth, I don't think it's going to work. So please ask your question, and he'll have the
That's what I'm
opportunity to
doing.
respond.
That's what I'm doing. My question is the bond deal done?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Has there been bids on the bond,
No.
on the roof?
No.
Okay. Now, I understand someone mentioned something about Belfour doing the roofing?
Not true.
That's not true?
No. There's a whole process that has to occur, starting with, well, we started already, but starting with next Tuesday. Then we have to spec out the project. That has to go to SED. That's got at least a 6-month turnaround period. And then from there, we would look at pricing, bidding, contract, et cetera. And then we would have to secure the financing for the bond. It's not just a done deal. It would actually have to go to the open market. We, receive bids from different banks, like, let's say, TD Cross,
Right.
Chase, et cetera. And once that's secured, then we would be able to move ahead with the project. So
And then
it's
you-
far from a done deal.
Then you acquire bids for the roofing?
We would have to.
From
We
a
have to,
lease.
we have to acquire bids, state contract, whatever would be known by state terminology as best value.
Now, are you acquiring bids from roofing contractors?
We would put the bid out, whoever picks up the bid, and obviously their qualifications and their history would be paramount to the.
Right, because there are restoration companies out there that are restoration companies, not roofing
Right.
companies, which outsource the job to a roofing contractor and then puts in their little profit into that
We
bid as
would-
well.
We would look to get, you know, a roofing company to do the job.
Okay, a roofing contract.
Yes,
Okay.
contract, yeah.
All right, and another thing, just one other thing. Now, the enrollment is decreasing in the district?
Per the BOCES study that we
Okay.
annually.
And the budget's
yes.
going up in numbers. And we have 16,000 residents, and we're almost $100 million for budget in this small little town community of Sayville. Mind-blowing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I respond a little to that? The state has over 100 unfunded mandates, over 100 unfunded mandates that we have to do, and the state doesn't pay for it. I just want everybody to know, the state puts in requirements, and they do not pay for those requirements. If you look at the budget going back 20 years, the money we got from the state percentage-wise compared to the money we get from the state now is ridiculous, ridiculous. And the mandates have only gone up. That's all.
But the enrollment's declining, so the state naturally will
We have
cut
another
funding.
question in the back. Can you
I have
please-
a question about the petition. I understand that we did a vote and all that, but I wanted everyone to think what it looks like to our kids when we as adults have a different set of standards than our kids. We tell our kids that we have to follow the rules, and yet people who are representing our school district don't have to. How do we present that to our kids?
Any other statements or comments?
I'll read Patty's letter.
Oh, Patty's letter?
Right.
It's floating
I
around.
think the
Do I
petition
have
should
it?
go as
I'm sorry, I have it back.
Yeah.
She,
I have no idea what it says.
so
but
she
I respect her.
emailed, okay, so she emailed this to the board, and as we've read, it's in that
Oh,
packet,
yeah.
most likely.
Dear Sayville Board of Education members, I am writing to express my extreme disappointment, actually disgust, at the recent acceptance by the Sayville Board of Education of a petition for a Board of Ed seat that contained improper forged signatures. I understand that the law firm retained by the district and paid for by the taxpayers of Sayville and West Sayville made an express determination that the petition should be declared invalid, and that the candidate Desmond Megna should not be placed on the ballot for the May 17, 2022 Board of Ed election. Despite this finding, the Sayville Board of Ed rejected the advice of council and decided inexplicably, with no explanation from anyone who was asked tonight, to permit Mr. Megna to remain on the ballot. This is troubling on many levels. First, the law is clear that a candidate must obtain real signatures of actual people on the petition for Board of Ed candidacy. Even a cursory review of the petition submitted by Mr. Megna reveals that no fewer than 9 signatures were all written by the same person in contravention of the law, and those signatures should be thrown out. Second, if the forged signatures had been properly invalidated, the candidate would have insufficient signatures to be on the ballot. Why were these clearly forged signatures not invalidated by the Board of Ed as recommended by legal counsel? Third, and most astonishing, is that the candidates were only required to obtain 25 legitimate signatures to be eligible to run for the board this year. This candidate could not even get a mere 25 genuine signatures of eligible voters. The district's council properly determined that lack of genuine signatures rendered the candidate ineligible, and the Board of Ed was out of bounds in permitting him to remain on the ballot. The message the board is sending to the residents of Sayville with this decision is that the board, its members, consider themselves to be above the law, which is a truly terrible message. I strongly urge all of the Sayville Board of Ed members to reconsider this decision, which clearly violates New York State law and the board's own policy and is a stain on our district.
Thank you. I'm gonna ask that the district council respond to that.
And that's from Patty Carroll.
Who is an attorney, she
Yes,
signed it with her attorney, Esquire.
Impressive, no doubt.
Okay.
So there's a number of factual inaccuracies that are set forth in that, and the problem here is that when there's this complete misapprehension of the facts, it has the ability to kind of generate a life of its own. So in terms of myself as the district's general counsel making a decision on behalf of the board regarding a ballot, that's not my role. Okay? Regarding the number of signatures that were actually in question, being 8, 9, 10, 11, not true. Okay? And as far as the board's vote, like I said, the board held a hearing. The board listened to the facts of both sides, its own investigation, and the facts that were presented to it by the potential candidate. okay, thereafter deliberated and then rendered a decision regarding, excuse me, the validity of the ballot. The other issue is the word fraud being thrown around like it doesn't have a meaning, okay? So fraud has a very particular meaning under the law, and there's been no finding of fraud in this case. So the issue is continuing to use and circulate that word as it relates to this particular petition.
I'm sorry, can I just
Thank
respond to
you.
that?
We had another question. I'm
Well, I
sorry.
just, because he's specifically talking about fraud, I understand that these people gave this gentleman permission, no one's disputing that, but when he gave it to Ms. Vaccaro, that's fraud. I'm an attorney, that's fraud. I'm a criminal defense attorney, that's fraud.
Then you should know that a determination of fraud is made by the court and not by you or by me.
Well, if that's where it has to go, these people really want to get arrested? Okay.
Any other questions?
They don't care.
Chose
They
to
just
ignore
don't
it.
care.
Yep.
The whole board doesn't care.
It's not good
We have a
example for
question,
the
we have a
kids.
question in the
Sorry.
back. No, I'm sorry,
It's terrible.
it wasn't ignored. It went before a board resolution, the board voted. You know my vote, you know the other. You know
Yes,
the
I
other
mentioned
vote.
that.
I stand by my
It's
vote.
a terrible example for our children.
Excuse me. I know, listen, I didn't interrupt you when you spoke.
Okay, sorry.
Please, let me finish. I stand by my vote, I stand firm by my vote, and by my convictions. I stand firm with the resolution that I voted on. We had a question in the back.
Sorry, I do. It's in regards to the same topic, so I apologize in advance.
It's okay.
But is there any way that we can hear the rationale for the 3 people that thought it was okay to continue? Because maybe that would help us understand what happened.
I don't have a direct answer to that. Again, I'm going to defer to counsel if you could answer that.
Well, I believe what you can do in terms of providing that rationale is, the best you can do, I think, is to, certain documents and information that were the subject of the hearing are available pursuant to FOIL. So I think what you can do is to make available to the public, if they seek to request it, the documents that were considered by the board when making its determination.
Thank you.
Follow up.
Okay.
Would that be available before the election date? Or
No.
would that come after it, and then what would happen then?
I received a notice today, I already did that it would be, I think, May 30th or 31st. I won't have those documents until then. I asked for them quite a few days ago.
Okay, she answered your question. I can't attest to what Ms. Rizzo was saying. I can say that the law provides for certain timelines attendant to requests under FOIL. The best I can say is to make the request, and then the district will respond.
Okay. Any other questions? We will move on. I'm sorry, the screen just went blank, so I need to call somebody to the tablet, please.
Deserve that budget pass.
Oh, one more time. That's,
So I know,
take this as
I know
a
people,
last question.
I know people don't like to say their names, but I'm gonna, because they're already out there. Walker up, one of the candidates running. Break up the mood a little bit. Good luck to everybody that is running.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf.
Break it up.
Next item on the agenda is
At this point, I'm gonna go.
recommended action
Want to be in the
minutes,
room with them.
4-1 to 4-3. The emotion